Now we will discuss students' awareness of learning styles and perceptions. Learning styles have been defined as the composite cognitive, affective and physiological characteristics that are relatively stable indicators. So these three characteristics, which are basically cognitive, that has to do with mental processes, cognition, and affective, which concern basically your feelings and emotions, and all the physiological characteristics which have to deal with the environment and you as a human being. So all these three are considered as the very stable indicators of how learners perceive. So it is important that learners, because learner is a key participant in the process of learning, so his or her awareness of his or her learning style is very important, and that learning style is influenced by this cognitive, affective and physiological characteristics, and they enable learners to perceive, interact and then respond to the learning environment. So how learner perceives the input, responds and interact with other agents in the environment, that process is highly influenced by cognitive, affective and physiological characteristics. Let's see what are those personality traits, or you can say learning styles, and how multiple perceptions and different perceptions have been formed on the basis of those learning styles. Here we have index of learning style, and you have these arrows connecting. Now we have sensory, visual, active, sequential and then intuitive, verbal, reflective and global. So learners' awareness of learning style and their perception has actually a lot to do with this index of learning style. For example, if you look at the sensory learners prefer concrete practice and procedural information, and intuitive ones are the ones who prefer conceptual, innovative and theoretical information. Visual, basically they prefer graphs, pictures and the visual representation, whereas the verbal has a lot to do with what they hear or read. Then we have active. When we look at the active learner, they basically prefer to manipulate objects, do physical experiment, etc. And the reflective have more to do with thinking and pondering. They enjoy figuring out a problem on their own. Then the sequential learners prefer to have information presented linearly and in orderly manner. Whereas when we look at the global, they prefer a holistic and systematic approach. So now their perceptions rely heavily on the type of these specific learning styles. To conclude, awareness of individual learning styles among learners and the use of an externally regulated strategy for enhancing learning help learners adapt to other learning styles.